And good morning, Wrestling Inc. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, and I am joined here on this very special Tuesday to really kind of start the week off. We didn't have a live show yesterday. It's our very good friend, Paul Pratt, a.k.a. Pollo Del Mar. Paul, thank you very much for joining us back here on the Daily today and jumping in.
Thanks for having me. What a way for me to kick off Pride Month.
Yeah, that's right. Today is the start of Pride Month. Oh, very exciting.
It is. I woke up gay again.
Wow.
What do you do? Great day to do it.
And I woke up an ally again today. And
I love that, man. We need those.
Right. And so I hope if you're one or the other, right, either part of the community.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Or supporting. That's all I was going to say. So,
you know, the great thing about the LGBTQIAA community is that we keep adding letters to our acronym. And one of the A's is for ally now. So you're part of.
Oh, sweet. What color am I on the flag?
I don't know. I don't really think of the flag as actually representative of people's colors. I thought it just meant like this whole spectrum.
I never really thought of it like that way either, but just kind of hit me there. I was like, oh, maybe I could be like orange. It could be orange. I don't know.
You could be whatever color you want.
I want to be orange. That's
okay, you are orange.
And you're rocking orange today, so you're wearing my colors today. So
I am. I'm representing you today, Nick.
Thank you.
Specifically you.
Yes, thank you. Because there's one thing I'm great at. It's making it about myself. So Pride Month.
Absolutely. Me too. It's a skill.
Pride Month is about Nick Hausman and Paul Pratt. Hey, guys, gals, everyone, we got a great show here today. It is the start of the week. We did not have a live show yesterday. We are going to talk a lot about Double or Nothing here in a little bit. We got a ton more news from the past 72 hours, the long weekend to get into here today. If you want to join the conversation, jump in the comment section of wherever you're at, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, wherever it may be. We have the mega thread over here. We'll click on some comments. We'll throw them up on the screen. We'll talk about them here on the show. Also, if you're listening in audio form after the news block today, you're going to hear from WWE Hall of Famer Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And if you are watching us in video form right now, about 57 minutes from now, my interview with WWE Hall of Famer Brutus the Barber Beefcake will premiere over on YouTube as well. And then we'll have quotes up this afternoon. It's a very Brutus the Barber Beefcake kind of day here on the Daily. Very exciting.
Absolutely.
And
man, I loved him so much before he became the Barber.
You like to
killed it for me, but I loved him when he was just Brutus Beefcake.
Just Brutus, but the bow tie and everything?
Yeah. I mean, hello, like Chippendales, right?
I think that was kind of how he debuted, yeah.
With Greg the Hammer Valentine, the Dream Team, I loved them. And of course, I'm a massive fan of classic tag team wrestling, and I always loved what they had done.
All right. Well, we don't really talk pre-Brutus stuff. In fact, we kind of start up SummerSlam 98 is kind of where the conversation goes. Then we kind of talk about Ultimate Warrior. We talk about Randy Savage. We talk about this fart that cost Brian Knobbs $10,000. So, stick around. It's going to be
heard around the world.
It's a very expensive fart that Brian Knobbs.
I guess so.
Very expensive fart. And then we'll dive into the mailbag at the end of the show for everybody here. We're going to look at which AEW star you want to see mix it up with a brand new big name signed AEW star. I won't give it away right here. Of course, I'm sure you know, but we'll talk about it later. Let's do it, though. News you can use, news to leave a bruise. We'll start with AEW Double or Nothing. Stadium Stampede did main event this show, which, first of all, surprised me. I was shocked that we got the triple threat before Stadium Stampede, but I'm going to guess they didn't want to end with Kenny Omega doing all that heel stuff and going over in a bad way and risking the show ending on booze, right?
Right, but also Stadium Stampede was half of that was pre-taped and not in the actual Daily's Place arena. So the live audience, i.e. you, would have been watching that entirely on the screen. Didn't you watch it on the screen when it was taped?
Yeah, we watched it, but then it kind of comes into the arena, right? And there's the live element there towards the end. So, yeah, I mean, there was some of it that was pre-taped, but there was elements of it that was live, which I actually thought was kind of nice and kind of cool.
Right, but what my thought on that was they had just put on this almost 4-hour at that point nonstop pay-per-view event. If I was there live at Daily's Place as I was so many weeks, and they put on any video package, I don't give a damn what it is. That's when I'm running to the bathroom. That's when I'm running downstairs to buy my $6 bottle of soda. Literally, y'all, it's like $6 for just like that soda that you get. It's like it's freaking airport pricing, but. I think that's what they were concerned about, basically losing the audience and then having their big main event not not go the way they wanted it to. That would be my thought.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, dude, when the video started, I saw a lot of people like get up and leave. Like it was crazy, the exodus. That triple threat. I don't know that the arena was as full for the big moment with Sammy at the end when the Inner Circle beat the Pinnacle there as it was at the end of the triple threat match. I definitely saw some of the bleachers up top looked a little thin there towards the end.
Right, and that's the what we experience at any type of. If you think about it, you go to a concert. How many people actually wait for the encore? The hardcore fans wait for the encore. Everybody else is like, I'm getting out of the parking lot while I can get out of the parking lot.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the match also saw some cameos, including Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer. Conan was there. Meyer was in his office when they did a whole melee. Conan was a DJ when they went through a club. I thought the match itself was fun. I think they're going to make this a yearly thing for sure. I think it's definitely going to be one of those things coming out of the pandemic they're going to keep around.
I was really looking forward to this match because I loved the first ever Stadium Stampede. I don't know. I think maybe I was just too exhausted to truly enjoy this. By the end of that pay-per-view, it was really long. I felt like parts of this, it just didn't hit its stride for me the way that the first one did. And maybe that's because we had something to compare it to. And the first one was so incredibly phenomenal that to me, this one just felt a bit short.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, this show was long,
it was unbelievably long.
And it was like, the show ends at like midnight or so. There's like a little bit of talking afterwards. Then we have to go do the media scrums right afterwards. And then we have to stay up and sign posts. It was a very long night, Paul. At least everybody with AEW was very cordial. The press scrums afterwards were a little hard to hear everybody. That was the only thing because they put us out in the field house where we had this big fan next to us. So that was a little rough having to scream questions and things like that.
And it makes great way to get your audio to sound great.
Yeah, it was
next to a big fan.
Yeah, it was hard. But luckily the folks over at Busted Open had a guy with a mic there that gave everybody else kind of some clean audio. So that's what we put out on the daily yesterday if you had a chance to listen to that. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the scrums. We're going to talk more scrum stuff here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Jungle Boy, he won the Casino Battle Royal. He's going to get a future AEW World Championship match. He had this moment after the match with Christian where they embraced and shared some words. Also during the Casino Battle Royal, Lio Rush debuted as the Joker. Tony Khan confirmed post-show that the two sides are currently working on a handshake deal. But Rush noted also on Twitter that he and Mark Henry, they had a chance to talk backstage at Sunday's AEW Double or Nothing, squashing their beef that they had in 2020 where there were some not so friendly comments made from each side about their position in the business. So really two parts to that. First, Jungle Boy. What do you think of his win here and the moment with Christian?
I think that AEW is doing a fantastic job of giving a young talent the big victory in this situation. I will tell you, when I was watching live, streaming it on Twitch, my reactions or whatever, I thought for sure that they were going to really replicate that Edge moment going from the beginning to the very end of this to take the victory. I was pleasantly surprised that Jungle Boy went over. But my thought on this, that victory would have meant a lot more if it did not feel like the Casino Battle Royale was utterly devoid of major star power. Everybody else was preoccupied in 4 hours of pay-per-view. So it felt like this was the AEW Dark Battle Royal almost.
Yeah, it was also hard to keep track of who was in and out. Like, I'm sure if you were watching at home that the announcers were letting you know about the eliminations and stuff, but when 5 people are coming out at a time and there's eliminations going on in the ring, we were sitting in our chairs. We thought Christian was like eliminated most of the match. We were actually kind of surprised when he came back in there later on. Like, oh, okay, Christian, I guess he's still this.
Oh, match. He's back.
Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, great moment for Jungle Boy. Definitely deserving. And I was so happy to see Lio Rush out there, and even more happy to hear the stuff about Mark Henry, who, by the way, has signed with AEW. He's going to be the host of AEW Rampage or announcer or whatever. We're going to find out kind of exactly what he's doing. But Mark Henry also with AEW now.
It would have been really nice, I think, if they had done this particular match later in the show after a lot of the people maybe had competed for the first time, had a chance to rest up a bit, and then they could have come back and made a second appearance, right? Double exposure on a show like this doesn't harm anybody's credibility for sure. And it would have at least allowed Jungle Boy to be in there with some of these main event or much larger name stars to kind of get that the momentum of going over in an event that included many of those people.
Yeah, and I think there's a case to be made that Miro and Lance Archer could have maybe been in that bout. Maybe not Miro because he's the champion there. Yeah, you want to do, but this isn't a TNT show. He's going to want to still be world champion at some point as well. I don't know. It's just that match for me especially kind of felt out of place on that card. Really, the audience was kind of
the Miro one.
Yeah, the Miro Lance Archer one is when the audience kind of seemed to be a little down a little bit. At least
I feel like, with Lance Archer, they constantly kind of give him this start and stop, and you don't have really high expectations for him, which for a talent like Lance Archer is really sad. I think that people don't have high expectations for Lance Archer, and that thing that they tried with the alleged snake, to like get heat or whatever.
That was so weird. I was like so happy when he chucked the thing because I was like, if he had to open it up and there had been a snake in there, I was about to be so pissed off, Paul. I was really upset about that snake spot before I knew it was not a snake.
Well, I mean, I thought it was supposed to be a snake, and I thought he was just supposed to throw it up because Miro tweeted afterwards something like "call PETA" or something. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, and Mark Henry, man. So the streak continues of people that Randy Orton told off at Legends Night. All of these people now are at AEW. Mm-hmm. What do you think? What do you think of that exodus, Paul?
I'm starting to reach a tipping point with the influx of talent that they have in these variety of different roles, right? That to me feels like they're just stocking up, right? They're stocking up on anybody for the most part who's got name recognition that WWE lets go in any capacity. And it's starting to reach that place that I felt like with WCW a long time ago in the NWO era or whatever. At first it was great. It worked. And then after a minute, you're just like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I think everybody was excited to see Mark Henry there. And I think
so too.
I think Mark Henry got a better reaction because it was a surprise, right? It wasn't something they rolled out on Twitter or Twitch or whatever. Mm-hmm. It happened in front of the live crowd. It was a nice little pop for the night. Mark brings a lot to the table.
He does.
Paul White, I don't really know what his in-ring ambitions are. He seems pretty content over in commentary. But Mark Henry, I think, has got a couple good matches in him. And he's got a real great personality as well.
Yes.
I agree with you about the stocking up thing. I'm really interested to see what they do with Rampage because there are guys and it seems like Mark's going to be attached to that project, but they need more time to show off everybody they've got right now. It does seem a little wild how much talent they've got retained at the moment.
They have a tremendous amount of talent, and the unfortunate distinction between a WWE product where they have the three brands is you can sort of divide people up, and each one of those gives people a specialized opportunity to showcase themselves. This is just really one product and lots of people involved. I would go so far as to say that between all of the on-air talent in terms of in-ring, plus the dozens of managers, people like these legends who are managing, every single person has a manager. It just feels overwhelming. And when you've got somebody, for example, like Jake Roberts and the Murder Hawk Monster, who we were just talking about, who don't even really have an opportunity to shine in any capacity, something might be not hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, talk about shining. I mean, Sting and Darby Allin, they defeated Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. I was really optimistic that Ethan and Scorpio were going to get a push here, but after seeing the way Sting showed up, literally didn't wear the shirt, looked fine, moved great, told a story. I don't think you could argue the energy in that room at that moment when Sting picked up that victory, and he pinned Scorpio. He didn't pin Ethan, but that crowd, I mean, of all the magical kind of fun feels that went on during that show, in that audience, I think this may have been right at the top, if not the top.
I think that there are so many things that went right at this pay-per-view. I think that Sting picking up that victory was to be expected and applauded. He looked fantastic. And I'm reminded, you mentioned our friends at Busted Open, and I'm reminded of something that Bully Ray says all the time, and that's that it's more important to get over than to go over. And I think that Sting pinning Scorpio Sky does nothing to harm Scorpio Sky's momentum whatsoever. And it placed him and Ethan Page in the ring as well as Darby Allin with Sting, and they looked great. They told a great story. It went the way it should have gone, I think.
And when he hit that dive off the stack of chips, I mean, it really felt like everything in the room just froze for a second. I mean, it
should have.
Everybody was just right there. And look, we have Z1 here saying Sting looked incredible. Yeah, dude. When he took that shoot off, that crowd went nuts. He was in really good shape. You know,
for 62.
For 62, man.
For 42, for 32, he was in great shape. You know, he's in great shape.
And the thing that's crazy is when he stands next to Ethan, you forget how big he is. Like, he's a very tall man. Like, I don't know why I forget about that sometimes. But Sting is big. Big guy.
Sting's a big guy. I think that we probably forget about it because size in AEW doesn't seem to matter. You know, you've got him next to Darby, and Darby's already quite small, smaller than most average wrestlers, or what we imagine to be wrestlers. And then you put somebody like Sting next to him, he looks like a child.
Yeah.
You know, Ethan Page, also quite a large man, very tall. I interacted with him at an Impact Wrestling taping a few years ago, and I'm not a short person, and he was several inches taller than I am.
So so Sting and Darby are just friends now. Is that it? They're just like,
I guess I was waiting for that Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan, like, Darby, I am your father.
I keep thinking he's his dad. I 100% keep waiting for the reveal. I don't know that they'll do it, but I kind of want it. You kind of want it?
I think that I wouldn't hate it. You know, I think that I have more issues with the fact that prior to them bringing Sting actually onto the roster, that Darby was copping a full-on angle that Sting worked for a year and a half, like sitting in the rafters and all that. I mean, it was just like, if they hadn't brought in Sting, that would have been something that would have been problematic for me. It was already problematic. The fact that this is something I've already seen another star do, you're doing it. At least now they've got him paired up. And if he became his father, it would at least give it some credibility.
I guess it could be like a Marty McFly, Doc Brown kind of relationship. I mean, Darby already rides a skateboard, you know,
yeah.
He itches a ride from this wily veteran. I'm just saying. While we're on it, Tad predicts here. What do you think? What do you think WWE higher-ups thought of that Sting appearance? They left money on the table, in my opinion. I would really love to know that, what WWE thinks of what Sting is doing right now, because he's doing a lot. He's getting a lot done.
I was really grateful, actually, to see him in the ring and doing something, because for the last 6 months, he's been doing the same promo, basically, and the same appearance. So at least there was some payoff with an in-ring return. I think the WWE is probably kicking itself at some point, because they could have put him into with his physical condition. They had him 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. And that means that if he's this good now, what was he like 5 years ago when he was only in his mid-50s? So they could have put on a great program with somebody. Definitely better than whatever they ended up with Triple H.
Yeah, well, I think that they were ready to do it, but then the Seth Rollins thing happened. I mean, they were going to position him in the Universal title picture. Had he not gotten injured, I don't think there would have been a problem with him. I think they would have just kept doing stuff with him.
I don't know that, but you know, I think that relating to Ted's question, WWE is seeing money just like walk out the door on that one.
And the merch thing is the big one for me. I mean, they're going to put out a Sting action figure, and that they're going to sell a lot of Sting action figures here. And you know what? Speaking of action figures, Paul, probably I think outside of the Sting moment, I think the biggest moment for everybody on the show was the Britt Baker beating Hikaru Shida, capture the AEW Women's Championship. They've been building to this for months. Everybody clamoring for this moment. Britt also finally got her action figure this weekend. They announced it at FanFest. You know, there's some other things we'll get to here in just a second. But a great big moment here for Britt. Great big moment, big weekend in general for Britt Baker.
Yeah, and I think that whether you're a Britt Baker fan or not, if you are a fan of women's wrestling in general and you are a fan of AEW, this is the moment a lot of people should have been looking for, because finally they have a face of their AEW women's division that is actually in the title hunt. Unfortunately, for the last year or more, we've had, I could not get over the fact that they kept hyping Shida as 372 or 73 days as champion. And this is her 8th defense. I was like, 8 defenses in 372 days is nothing to brag about.
Yeah.
Pick one or the other, like, but do not mention them simultaneously, because most traditional wrestling fans operate under the title defense every 30 days mentality, because that's what's been drilled into us for generations. And here's Sheeta bragging about what, a title defense every 6 to 7 weeks. I don't know about that.
I think Sheeta's ready for something new. I think she's ready for something different. I think Britt is ready to take on this mantle of the head of the women's.
Absolutely.
I think it's just, I think everybody won in this particular situation. And, you know, this is the thing, and it's happening in AEW right now. I think we're going to see I would hope we're going to see some of this in WWE. We're going to see some big things finally happen, right? Like we heard,
yes,
we've been waiting for Britt Baker to win the title. Fans are back. Boom, Britt Baker wins. We've been waiting for that big Jungle Boy moment. We've been waiting for that big push to happen. Fans are back. Boom, we're going to get to it. You know, AEW accomplished the job of jump-starting some things at Double or Nothing that are really going to pay dividends for them when they get back on the road. That was my biggest takeaway from this show. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the Orange Cassidy triple threat match, but I think that there were so many things that were done appropriately to position people without pulling the trigger kind of prematurely. I think that people have been positioned because there's a lot of young talent that AEW is cultivating that within the next year, I think they're going to really start to see their positions being placed. Among those, I think are going to be Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, who we did talk about. Darby Allin obviously is already in the mix. Jungle Boy is obviously moving in that direction as well.
I don't have it on the run sheet because there wasn't a title change. I kind of briefly mentioned it up top, the triple threat, not main eventing the show. But is there anything you wanted to say about what we got from that match?
Yeah, absolutely. Because for me, I think that, you know, there's going to be a lot of people who are Orange Cassidy fans who are disappointed that he did not get that victory. And what I was thinking about before we went on the air is those things I said in the very first time that you and I talked on air, Nick, and that is that the idea, as I mentioned briefly here, is it's better to get over than go over. And
right.
the programming that they did for this triple threat was not done for the fans of Orange Cassidy. It was done for people like me who do not feel he's a legitimate contender. But out of that match, I feel more confident that he is a valid contender for the world title, right? It solidifies him in the long run. It's the very same thing, once again, that they did with Sting when he came in from Mid-South or Universal Wrestling Federation and came into the NWA back in the day when Ric Flair was the champion, and they wanted to position him as the next big thing. They gave him that series of near misses so that when they finally did pull the trigger, people lost their mind because they'd been not just waiting for the confrontation, but waiting for that final moment for him to get over.
That was awesome take, Paul. That was well cited. That was well said. And I think the other thing I would just toss on top of that is I saw a lot of people like, oh, Kenny Omega, they did the no DQ rules thing. We never see stuff like this. And it's like, yeah, okay, your champion is doing things that nobody else on the roster does to get heat. I think that's fine. I thought that this whole match was executed really well. Everybody walked out of it exactly where you want them to be after the bout, exactly like you said. So.
Absolutely. And I felt strongly that you know, Pac was like protected and by not taking the fall. So we had that possible confrontation between Kenny and Pac again, because we know that that's a one-on-one that is up for reevaluation. And Orange Cassidy, like, I think that the best moment from that entire match to me was after the fall had already taken place and Kenny's standing on the ramp and they go back to the ring where Orange Cassidy's sitting there like, I can't believe like how close I got, but I didn't get there. And I think that that was the scene that people needed to see because he did get close. You know, he was crafty. He was able to hang with two of the top talents in the world. So he is now a valid contender as we move forward. And people obviously are going to want that one-on-one between the two.
Yep. All right. And by the way, if you have any other thoughts on Double or Nothing, we're going to move into just a little bit more AEW talk. Feel free to jump in here. I see Antonio Garcia, Britt Baker was the face of the women's division from the beginning. I think Rio was supposed to be the face of the women's division. And props to her and Serena Deeb, by the way. That match, that was the first match of the night for that live crowd. And the Serena Deeb showed up, showed out. I mean, Rio as well. That match was much better than it needed to be for that buyout. And I thought it was I mean, I've seen Rio live a bunch. I thought it was the biggest she'd ever looked like a star. It was on the dark match. It was very surprising to me. It was crazy. So.
I think that what she just suffers from is the fact that they tried to tell this compelling story from the go about her, about how she doesn't quit and she's smaller and all these things. And that is, I think, a fantastic story to tell. I don't think that story has legs to position somebody as a long-term face of your division. The idea behind that tremendous underdog character is that they've always got to be in the chase for the title, right? The idea of the underdog is they're chasing and chasing and chasing, and the big person is pushing them down, pushing them aside. And then what are you waiting for? The moment that person eventually gets their comeuppance, that they get their, that they're established. Oh, look, I did it. But eventually, they're going to be swatted down again. Having a person in that role that they were trying to push, in that narrative that they were pushing so hard for her for 3 to 6 months as champion just doesn't work. It does not work.
We also have, Zero Prime here. Hikaru Shida got a big thank you after the match is over, rightfully so. I'm going to get your name right here. I've gotten it wrong before because he DM'd me. Sumeda. He's saying AEW needs to sign some legend status women to the roster like Mickie James to help feud with the younger cadre. Great word, cadre, by the way.
I know. Look at you with the SAT word.
No, I had to do a double take. What is that? Oh, cadre. I know what that word means. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think the women.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, they have Serena Deeb there right now. I mean, we'll get to it later. It doesn't seem like Molly Holly's on the cards, right? But I mean, I guess Lita's technically available. I mean, you'd know more than me. I don't know. Does she want to go to AEW?
Well, I can't cite any private conversations. I don't think she's interested. I think she loves the product, but I think that at some point you know which side your bread is buttered on. And that's not based on anything that Lita told me in the one afternoon we hung out, but that's just like inference from some of the things that were said. Basically, if you're in good graces with WWE, you get included in video games and you get new action figures, and all of those things are going to make you decent money while you're doing absolutely nothing. I think that people who are still actively wrestling, people like a Mickie James would be fantastic. I think that there are a lot of talented and already established stars who we see that in the men's division, right? Like if somebody what did they do? Jungle Boy gets a win over Christian, a win by tossing him out of the Casino Battle Royale. He gets the rub from that. And I think some of these women could do that as well. At the same time, I think they already happen to have a very credible crop of women who are on the rise together. And there's nothing that, in my mind, would keep Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa and Red Velvet and eventually Jade Cargill and a number of the other women, Ty Conti, on this roster from becoming, as they develop together, what we saw happening with people like Charlotte and Sasha and Becky and Bailey in NXT, where they're coming up together, and as a result of the putting on incredible matches together, they establish everyone's credibility across the board.
Well, also talking about the women here, WWE's Instagram account posted an old video clip of Raw superstar Nia Jax dominating AEW star Britt Baker in a squash match. The video was from Jax's main roster debut on July 25th, 2016 on Raw. That was Britt Baker's last appearance. Yeah, right? Just throwing shade.
Shade. Major shade. It was, I do understand that for the WWE fans and the AEW haters among that group, they're probably like, oh, look, she got crushed. But anybody who has like half a brain cell knows that the most powerful finishing move in the world of professional wrestling is the pencil. Whoever wrote that ending is the one who decided that Britt Baker was going to get squashed. She was on her way out. Nia's on her way in. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like big names have not been enhancement talent in WWE. Scarlett was also squashed, I believe, by Nia Jax as well, and she's doing quite well in NXT at the moment. Also, there's a new AEW Women's Championship. It was unveiled on Dynamite on Friday, which, by the way, preliminary numbers I saw, they only did like 500,000 viewers, but I'm not taking any of that into whatever.
I did not like that show, but that's an aside.
It was a late night Friday night show. Anyway, the updated design, mostly similar to the original one, but it's a little bit bigger, has more gold and jewels. The new design also has 2 side plates on either side as opposed to the original 3. It It was the first time they've changed the design for the title. And as cool as that was, the real news came just before the belt was to be introduced, as there was a hot mic situation on Spanish commentary, drama at the Spanish table, as during the Spanish feed, announcer Willie Urbina was caught on the hot mic mocking AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida in a racially insensitive way. Alex Abrahantes asked Urbina to translate Shida's promo for Spanish viewers on Fight. Urbina mocked Shida's Japanese accent, and from the soundbite, it seems like both Corette and Rosa were uncomfortable with the attempt at a joke. The moment came just before the title was presented, and it was made clear that the two sides had parted ways, and Tony Khan confirmed that in the post Double or Nothing scrum. So don't be racist, and you get to keep your job. I think that's fine.
It's a pretty good agreement.
Yeah, don't be a racist, and you can keep your job. That's fine. I think that's a good rule.
And even for those people out there who would not think that that's racist, don't be a douche, and you get to keep your job. Like, it's not a nice thing to do, especially, to mock your coworkers.
Yes.
So,
and if it hadn't been picked up on a hot mic, it's very offensive. And again, you shouldn't be doing that stuff, especially in the workplace of all places. Don't
do that. I mean, I will say that I have a through thread of me that is not very politically correct, but I save that for environments where people understand that it's a joke, between my friends, it's something that is used as a punchline. It's not a reality of my thought process. And I could get heat for that because I don't think that there's a person in the world who's pure all the time. So I don't mind that thought being out there for the world, but I would never do it in a work environment.
You don't want to hurt people. You don't want to attack
people
and drag them down, right? That's the thing. You go to a roast, a lot of things are said at a roast. You roast people you love. If it's a joke you can make with a friend and it's you're comfortable, whatever, but this is not that.
It was clearly done behind her back.
Yes, 100%. All right. More AEW stuff here, WWE stuff, New Japan stuff, and a little bit of the scrum stuff. We'll start here. AEW released a video before SmackDown on Friday with Tony Khan addressing the rumors of the WWE and New Japan working together talks. I'm going to read the whole thing for those of you all that have not seen this video. So, Tony talking to Tony Schiavone. He says, "Thank you very much, Tony. I appreciate it. As we get ready to go live tonight on Dynamite, I just want to address as the Forbidden Door," which, pause, that's how a heel starts a promo, right? I think it came across as I don't know. Maybe presenting himself as a character now. I'm not really sure what to make of that. So anyway, he says, "I read in The Observer that New Japan has had talks with WWE's president, Nick Khan. Well, Nick, I have to say, if you've been talking to New Japan Pro Wrestling for 2 months, you've gotten a lot done. Just in the last 2 weeks, I've had Yuji Nagata, Ren Narita, and Rocky Romero on AEW. I've reunited Roppongi Vice. I've had the New Japan IWGP United States Champion Jon Moxley defend the title successfully on our show, retaining it, and I have future plans for New Japan Pro Wrestling for the U.S. title. So you must have really gotten a lot done in 2 months, Nick. And in fact, I think there's only room for one Khan in the wrestling business, Nick, and it's me. It's Tony Khan. It's not some con man from Connecticut. Have a fun show tonight, Nick. See you on Dynamite." Really went in, dude. Really, really. I was shocked when I saw this. What was your reaction to this video, Paul?
That when you are really, really rich and you own your own wrestling company, you do whatever the F you want. I mean, I think that I really like AEW. Okay. I really do. Yet people at the uppermost level in AEW are beginning to I feel like that between Tony doing this and Cody doing Cody, the people at the uppermost level of AEW are in business to put themselves over. You know what I mean? I think that that's how it felt to me.
It does. It
didn't feel like something that the president of a wrestling company should do in a professional setting, unless you're trying to incite some, buzz or whatever, which I'm sure they probably are. They want to benefit from that we're at war type of conversation that people have.
Tony is fully a character now, right? He has a nickname. He cuts promos. He makes matches. Tony's a character now, right?
Despite the fact that he has repeatedly told us that he would not do that.
And he's like the authority figure too, right?
At the live shows, he does not participate this way, but I think that is evolving from his interaction, honestly, with Impact Wrestling, because he plays that exact character that we saw in that promo on those paid advertisements on Impact.
So Tony has fully become a character and an authority figure in AEW. I believe that. I don't feel like I'm saying anything out of turn when I say that.
I think it could very well go that way.
It has gone that. We're there, buddy. We've reached the mountaintop. Tony, and I wonder too, with Bischoff being around as much as he has, how much of that has that energy has kind of crept into Tony a little bit.
We'll find out when Tony Khan is the one, in fact, to unseat Kenny Omega as the AEW World Champion.
Sure. Yeah. Sign me up. So anyway, Tony cuts this promo on Nick Khan. And I should say as well, like, I don't really know anything about Nick Khan. I know he's facilitated $2 billion deals for WWE, which is nothing to slouch at. I think he just bought a $7.6 million home or something I read over the weekend.
$7 million.
$7
million mansion in like LA, I think.
Okay. So Nick Khan doing quite well for himself.
Yeah, quite. I want to be that kind of con man.
I was about to say, I don't do con men. I mean, I guess Bernie Madoff has like $1 billion or something tied up, but I don't really feel like I don't get the vibe that he's doing it. It just seemed like I feel like Tony has heard the con man thing directed at him in the past. I feel like he heard that said and wanted to redirect that and maybe label Nick with that moniker. And it just also felt like very kind of defensive. Like it didn't come across necessarily as aggressive to me, because if you're in the driver's seat, I don't feel like you do something like this. And we found out afterwards in the scrums where he said, because I asked him, and like he walks out on stage, my original iteration of the comment, the question was going to be, Tony, did you have to buy new pants recently? Because I'm sure that they ripped when your balls got so big, you decided to call out Nick Khan. I chose to tame it and just ask him why he felt the need to cut that promo. He said, I talked to New Japan. I asked them if they thought it would be a good idea for a good promo, and they thought it was great. I thought it would be a good promo, and so it made sense. We have a lot of stuff going with New Japan, and everyone's welcome to talk to each other in the wrestling business, but we've done some great stuff with New Japan over these last few weeks, and I think we're going to do some great things moving forward, and I'm excited about that. So a little bit more tame.
I think that my takeaway from this, especially after that kind of an explanation, is that WWE, like the rumor starts that WWE is even in remote talks with New Japan, right? And all of a sudden, the internet community is blowing up talking about this possibility.
Right.
And what I take from it is that Tony Khan is like, well, we've actually had this interaction with New Japan. They've actually been on our television show. And he was like the kid who was like throwing a tantrum because like, you're getting more attention just at the possibility that you're going to do this. And we're doing it and nobody's talking about it.
The thing, Paul, here is like New Japan is in like the best situation, right?
Of course they are.
You have two American billion-dollar companies right now, or billionaires right now, squabbling over you like the prettiest girl at the dance. I mean, realistically. And the thing to me that's funny about this is Tony had like called New Japan. Like, apparently, it was like, can I cut this promo? New Japan's like, sure. Now, Tony here says people are allowed to talk to each other in the business, which is a stretch from, Nick, you should be out of the business. I am the only con in the pro wrestling business. A little bit of a change of tune there, I feel like, between the two, because I think that New Japan may be also saying, yeah, we're talking to WWE. Maybe we do business with them too. This is not an exclusive deal. Because I'm not going to say that, originally I think it was reported like WWE wanted to be the exclusive partner with New Japan. Maybe that's where the reaction from Tony came from. But again, like the people are allowed to talk to each other thing. The other thing I go back to here is I'm thinking about all these pieces. We'll get to the Daniel Bryan stuff here too in just a second, because it is something that was one of the first things. But I know that the New Japan guys were not thrilled with how the Elite guys left them when they were peaking in their company to go start their own thing. You're in a foxhole in the pandemic. You got to do anything to keep your business alive. A relationship between the two is a layup. Okay. Now things are going to open back up again, at least here, right? You're going to have two companies that you can maybe negotiate with, maybe not over in Japan, but we are no longer in a situation where these companies are all trapped in the pandemic foxhole together and are forced to be. Now we're going to see a little bit more freedom. I don't really know I don't want to say exactly where I think that I could say where I think it's going, but I don't know where it's going. But I know that the relationships are all about to change a little bit. I'll put it that way.
Everything's about to change a little bit because we have a lot more freedoms that are going to be presented in terms of storytelling and the way things that, I think that we're going to see tremendous amounts of things changing. I just feel like, I don't, it just rubbed me wrong. I'll just leave it at that. It did not settle well with me.
Yeah. Well, and on the topic here, as we continue down talking WWE New Japan, PW Insider reporting Daniel Bryan was a topic of discussion in the recent talks between the two sides. The main crux of the talks had to do with the potential of Bryan being able to work for New Japan. The report also stated that the talks have been going on for several months. That was confirmed by sources in both companies. Okay, pause real quick. Is Tony just now finding out about this? Is that why he's upset? Has he been doing business with them and they've just said, okay, and not been mentioning the W? So many layers of onion. So.
There's no effing reason that they should. You know what I mean? Like, you approached me to do this. The ideal situation would be for New Japan to play both sides against the middle. Like, we want some of our people to go there, and we want some of our people to come to you, and you can get what you want, and they can get what they want, and we are definitely getting the maximum of what we want, which is exposure.
Well, we also know that this is not a case of New Japan's working relationship with AEW and Impact ending anytime soon, at least not due to WWE's involvement. A new working relationship between WWE and New Japan would not be the first time the two promotions have worked together, as they originally did in the WWF days, work with New Japan back in the 70s. The Observer also saying it was hinted at that WWE stars going to bigger New Japan shows, not so much New Japan wrestlers showing up in WWE. This would also involve NXT stars traveling to Japan, and WWE Japan, or NXT Japan, I know is something they've always kind of wanted to do. And like with Daniel Bryan and other talents that just want to get out and get reps and go somewhere else, I could see a multitude of reasons for WWE wanting to make this deal happen. And if they can put down enough money to, get their competition out of the picture, I don't take that off the table either. So,
I mean, Daniel Bryan, I think, of all people, would want to go to New Japan, just because I think that he's seems to be, like, at this point in his career, taking on matches and doing what feels fulfilling to him. And probably that is not a full-time WWE in-ring career. And he wants to probably compete against top names. And he was competing in Japan well before, he went to WWE. So the opportunity to return and do some of the things that probably felt really good to him in his earlier career, he's at that place where you get to call your shots. Why not?
Well, also, let's read some comments here. Samantha QT just wrote, all of this is childish. Some of it is.
A lot of it.
Some of it's business. At Antonio Garcia, I don't see New Japan working with WWE with Vince in the driver's seat. Nick Khan may convince them when he takes over, but not before then. Takes over.
People are so committed that I do not foresee Vince McMahon letting anyone take over a company his father built, for 50 years ago. And I don't even see, not even a financial buyout, because there's nothing to even push that idea. The guy's a multi-billionaire at this point. He has more money than he could know what to do with, and this is his family legacy. But in terms of, I would be hesitant to, if I were New Japan, because Japanese wrestlers have a terrible track record of the way they are promoted and presented in WWE. Maybe 6 months in, like, for the first 6 months, they're the Shinsuke Nakamura situation where they're unstoppable or they're incredible. And then after that, they're, they have no idea. They're Akira Tozawa with 24/7 playing a ninja.
Yeah, I guess that's probably a good thing if Tony Khan's putting together his PowerPoint to be like, here's why you don't do business with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Slide 1. Tozawa is an actual ninja.
And then like slide 2, like 10 years ago, somebody else was an actual ninja. And then, it's just like, that is the only, that's the only thing they know. They're like, what would be great is if somebody was a ninja and then Asuka was an actual geisha who was his valet. And that would be amazing.
Yeah.
She could throw a wooden shoe at people.
Well, moving over to SummerSlam, Matt Min podcast reporting WWE is bringing in rapper Cardi B to host this year's SummerSlam. On Friday, SmackDown, Cardi B's Up played during a commercial for this year's big event. It's expected to be the theme song for SummerSlam. That's huge, man. If Cardi B hosts SummerSlam, that's huge. It's real big. I mean, look what Bad Bunny did for them.
Well, they I think that started because somebody a while back, they mentioned Cardi B on I think Raw, or was it SmackDown? And then Cardi B all of a sudden is like, why am I trending in relation to WWE? And
and then she was like, I love WWE. And she mentioned all like Lita and Trish, all these wrestlers that she loved.
And then she released her own potato chip.
Oh, good. So maybe
there's at my local convenience store where I get my cool, refreshing beverages, there's a Cardi B potato chip.
Well, the Observer also saying people in WWE have talked about John Cena versus Roman Reigns as the top SummerSlam match. No one has been able to confirm it. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you could do it, do it. I mean, it's going to be a big show, get business popping again. Also, this SummerSlam show is going head-to-head with Mayweather in town. I have no idea how this show is going to do. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine, but this whole thing is starting to sound a little messy for SummerSlam.
Well, yeah, I don't think that any of these events are going to have problems selling out a venue. I don't think they're going to have, because legitimately you can sell out any live event at this point. As soon as the tickets go on sale, people are like, I want out of the house, I'll buy it, I don't give a shit. But I'm not sure that I would be gunning for Cena versus Roman Reigns, but
really, why not? I think that's a natural thing to get Roman to the next level, have him go through Cena, then he's like on his way to like superstardom.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's already there. I mean, they already crammed him down our throats for so many years before he actually started to click. I don't think that he needs that. I think that they could definitely do it. I think it's money. I'm not sure it's the match I'd want to watch.
Oh, by the way, it's not Mayweather, and I'm not a boxing person. I have no idea. It's Pacquiao versus Spence. Mayweather's this Sunday. So apologies. My bad, Thomas. I don't cover boxing.
I would have never been able to catch it either because I don't know anything.
The Observer also saying currently no plans for Jimmy Uso to challenge Reigns at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. There's no word yet on who Reigns may face at Hell in a Cell. I was trying to rack my brain. I don't really know where we're going with, maybe more Cesaro stuff, possibly with Reigns in the future. I'm not really sure.
But Cesaro right now is sidetracked again
with Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins.
Maybe triple threat, something with those guys, I guess.
I think that would be I guess it'd be interesting. Maybe they don't have to put Roman Reigns in a cell.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that they could. I don't know that.
Maybe it's Uso versus Uso, and they're actually in Uso Penitentiary.
All right. Well, okay. Well, that's not bad. I don't hate that. But on WWE Raw, McIntyre pinned Kofi in the main event. He's now the #1 contender again to Bobby Lashley's title. If there was a match that maybe should be put in a cell at the end of a feud to like cap the feud, I hope to God it's this. I'm done with McIntyre Lashley. I was really hoping we were going to get Kingston Lashley at Hell in a Cell.
You are not alone in that. I think that the Twitterverse and social media was looking forward to it. The problem here, I think that they did. I think they wanted to prolong this, right? They threw Kofi back in there into the mix. I think that is something that they may want to revisit down the road. I think that people became excited again. You know, it was like almost a second coming of Kofi Mania, right? Or whatever they want to call it, because people started to get behind Kofi. And I think that what backfired on them in a lot of ways was that Kofi, during all these promos, kept saying over and over, I don't know how it is that you've gotten rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch. I think it's time you step your ass aside and let somebody else, go for the. And I think that he was legitimately vocalizing what way too many fans were thinking for them to give us the outcome that we got last night.
Yeah, I'm really interested when the fans get back how some of these wrestlers are going to get received. McIntyre, this was like the first time I had felt like he was getting the Reigns John Cena treatment. Before this, it all kind of felt fresh or organic, or they'd cool him off for a little bit, or they'd run him off and have something to do with Sheamus for a little bit, or, whatever. They weren't keeping him necessarily. Now it's like shot after shot after shot, just so reliant on this guy over on Raw at the moment.
I really legitimately wish that they had not pushed this match. Give Kofi that match. Give it to Kofi. Let him go in there and put on a great match that we haven't seen. It would at least feel fresh. And then if, when Lashley ultimately retains, that moves him forward a little bit more, does not harm Kofi at all because, he did great. I mean, I thought Kofi looked fantastic last night against McIntyre. I also will tell you that promo that McIntyre cut before the match, I felt was very, very heel. And down to like telling the announcer, now get the hell out of here.
Yeah. He's got to keep an edge on him right now, right? He's got to keep him edgy.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have a problem. I actually much prefer the Scottish psychopath to whatever he is, the Scottish warrior. I think that for me, I would like to see them cool this confrontation between Lashley and McIntyre off. It's been done so many times. There's got to be somebody else who can take on Lashley.
Oh, 100%. That's why I was excited about Kofi. By the way, we're going to be running up right at the hour mark here, just a little bit on the news and the live stream and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and postpone the premiere of Brutus by half an hour. So at 1:30 Eastern, go over to the YouTube channel. I'll be able to jump in and chat with you guys as can Paul and whoever else wants to jump in. 1:30 Eastern, I'll debut my interview with Brutus Beefcake over on YouTube. Of course, it'll still be on the audio version. I already hit the buttons over here. Got distracted for a moment, but we're good to go. Also on Raw last night, Elias officially out of nowhere cut ties with Jaxson Ryker after abandoning him at ringside during their match against AJ and Omos. After the match, Elias cut a promo praising Ryker as a veteran, and there was a moment before the match too, backstage where Ryker, Elias made a comment about, are you going to run away? Don't you know what it's like to be at battle? And Ryker's like, I served in Iraq. And anyway, he says, despite being a veteran, Elias said he doesn't want to ride on the road with him from town to town now that we're going back to live events. Mixed messaging here because the booking said they're turning Ryker babyface. The promo said, I think they might cut ties with this guy. I'm conflicted about what to make of what happened with Ryker on Monday night. What do you think is going on here?
So I didn't give any thought to what the future holds for Jaxson Ryker. I mean, they definitely did between presenting him as a veteran and all this stuff. They presented him as a veteran, but he also looked a little unstable in that backstage promo. The part about this that bugged me the most, and because it made no sense, and I was watching this and just like asking out loud to what I was watching, like, what the hell are you thinking? So you've got Elias, and he's got a tag team partner. He's got his first title match in WWE in God knows how long. They're actually doing well against the champions, and then he just walks away. So you have literally no other prospects. You have nothing in front of you, but you have this title match, and you have an opportunity, a pretty good one, the way it was presented, like they had the leg up on becoming WWE Tag Team Champions. And considering you've practically never been able to win anything else in the entire company, your entire reign, but you're going to walk away from it.
I think that we've seen WWE cut ties with a lot of controversial figures here recently. Velveteen Dream, Drake Wirtz. The promo to me, it's so weird. I feel like I'm listening to a puzzle sometimes when I listen to WWE stuff, right? Like there's like this other layer there. The way Elias talked about how we're returning to live shows, and I want the fans to walk with Elias. I think they realize that they can't control the narrative anymore. And when you send him out there with Ryker, I don't know that the fans are going to react I think there's just gonna be a negative reaction to Ryker. I don't think he has a good reputation, especially amongst hardcore fans. And I think that he was bluntly saying what a lot of people backstage were thinking about the pairing. And that's why I say I think this all kind of came out of nowhere, because I think they kind of decided something maybe internally, like we're not going to keep these controversial figures around anymore. We are trying to grow. And I think that Ryker, that's why I say the promo said to me, we're moving on. The booking said to me, we're turning him babyface. It could go either way for me. I think pushing him as a babyface, as a veteran, is going to be a tougher hill to climb if that is the direction they're thinking about going.
You know, the other reason I frankly was confused and a little bit bummed out by this, I do not like Jaxson Ryker. I think that his, Twitter commentary is whatever. But then they had him in there against the flat earther AJ Styles, so who knows? But at the same time, like Elias and Ryker, whether I like Ryker as a person or not, they were working as a duo. And they've been getting a fair amount of airtime, and they developed some credibility. They just put Ryker over, literally pinned AJ Styles, the single best wrestler that they have on pretty much the entire roster, last week. And then they're going to turn around and do this. Like, where is this going? Like, what are they doing? And why not give these two people who have no direction this opportunity as a tag team? They work, they look good together. And it's not like they have an abundance of tag teams, like, on the roster. So this was a good use for both if they were going to keep Ryker.
I think it's all politics, and I think that they want to position Elias as somebody who could go out there and do his guitar gimmick and do funny songs, and the crowd will love him.
Can we please move beyond that guitar gimmick too?
Nope. They're going to go right back to it in front of those live fans, man. Get ready for it.
Utterly over it.
Nope. Get ready for it. It's happening.
I would rather see, I can't wait for Elias versus Rick Boogs, the guitar off. Elias should be pissed. Rick Boogs has come out and finished his entire song 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
Elias has never done that in 5 years with the company.
Well, lastly here with Raw, backstage news. PW Insider reporting Molly Holly was backstage, reportedly as a tryout as a producer. There's talk she may be rehired by the company to work behind the scenes. And all I can say is, yes, this is a great idea. I don't know why more women, especially of that era where they drew big money and know what it takes to draw big money, are not working with the women backstage. I asked in the scrums, I asked Britt Baker if there were any female producers working backstage right now. And she said no, but they do have Serena Deeb, who she would like to move into that role, which I guess is fine enough. It is still weird to me how there is no real female representation backstage in these roles. And I'm ecstatic to hear Molly Holly, a great human being.
You forget, Nick, there was the very hyper experienced and utterly over Brandy Rhodes, but unfortunately she was derailed by pregnancy.
You're right. She was doing a great job mentoring those young girls there.
With her extensive in-ring career and like how well she gets over with audiences, she has so much to offer. Yes.
Well, it is a shame. And no, all kidding aside, Awesome Kong was, I guess, the last time I asked this question in the scrums, they said Awesome Kong when she's there because of her Glow schedule, but Glow long since done. I don't think I've heard anything about Awesome Kong working backstage. AEW really kind of lacking, I feel like, in the women's representation on the backstage department, just being candid. And I think that with WWE, again, Molly just not only is just a successful female in that role. I mean, we had her on Waltman's podcast a couple weeks ago, and I mean, just a nice, good human being who I trust to speak up if she sees things in that locker room that are not right. And those are the kinds of people I would like to see backstage in management.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that when it comes to fostering a women's division, I think that the importance and the kind of contribution that a veteran female talent could make is paramount.
We have Antonio Garcia here, by the way, saying with Ryker and Drew is the left hand not knowing what the right is doing. That's what happens when you write the scripts at the last minute. Possibly could be a victim of that. And also Samantha Q saying, do you think that they're going to split up Woods and Kofi since they have Woods doing solo matches? No,
never.
I think they'll be back together here next week, especially with Kofi no longer in the main event picture. All right, lastly here, we're going to talk a little bit more about the WWE cuts before, if you're in audio form, you'll have Brutus. Then we'll real quickly dive into the mailbag at the end. The Observer saying the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark released from NXT after another wrestler alerted WWE officials about an undisclosed incident. Dream's firing was not related to the allegations of in 2020. Word now is that Dream was released after a top WWE talent went to a company official and alerted them about an incident that Dream was involved in. No concrete word on what the incident was or what WWE star brought it to their attention of the officials. All very hazy. Not a lot of details here, but Dream, people did not like working with Dream. They found him to be uncomfortable to work with. And the refrain goes on. Also, PW Insider saying hired in November 2018, Giancarlo Ditmo among those released. He was the director of the well-received documentary pieces Live Forever, a WWE YouTube video on Ringside, Charlie Adorno, and the upcoming Superfan, the story of Vladimir, the first ever WWE and only official WWE Superfan. It was considered to be a stunning exit. Ditmo was called a genius by one WWE staffer who survived this week's cuts. I know Giancarlo. He is a very, very, very talented filmmaker. He is one of the reasons Joey Janela's Spring Break has become what it has because of the storytelling he did. It is, I'm sure, what led to him getting hired by WWE. He is an asset wherever he's going to go. And I believe he was backstage at AEW Double or Nothing, if I heard the rumblings are true. So if that's where he lands up, great. If he goes to Hollywood, whatever. I don't know if you know Giancarlo or not, but great guy. Very, very talented. Very, very, very talented. I was sad to hear he got let go. And lastly, Fightful reporting WWE has released Josiah Williams, who had made a name before signing with WWE with his Wrestle and Flow brand. He was part of the cuts made last week. He originally signed with WWE in April 2019, was later released in April 2020, along with other budget cuts, brought back in September 2020, and has been with the company until last week. His biggest moment came when he performed a remix of Adam Cole's theme song while accompanying Cole to the ring at TakeOver 25 when he won over Johnny Gargano. Williams had done most of the digital work with the WWE NXT brand and the Performance Center. And again, a guy that I know very well liked, and he's brought a lot. That hip-hop flavor over in NXT, he was really the one who kind of ushered all that in.
Yeah, I think that I feel the same way about these cuts as I do with anybody who is an in-ring performer specifically, that we never like to see anybody lose their job. But the upside for all of these individuals is that they all, without doubt, to get hired by WWE, this global franchise, number one, that's going to go a long way on any resume. And number two, it speaks to the fact that they have a tremendous amount of talent and drive personally and professionally. So they're going to land on their feet no matter what. So, especially with talents like that.
All right, everybody, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to Paul for talking the news of the day. Thank you to Brutus the Barber. Again, if you're watching us live, 27 minutes. I delayed it by half an hour. We're going to do the premiere of the Brutus interview if you want to watch over there. We just had too much news, 72 hours worth of news to get through here today. Paul, thank you for giving us as much time as you did here today.
Absolutely.
I don't typically go more than an hour, but we did, again, just crammed it all in there today. And with that, we'll dive into the mailbag at WInc Daily, WINC Daily. That's the account to follow. Which AEW star do you most want to see the Mark Henry wrestle? Jericho, Big Show, Lio Rush, or someone else? Those are the choices I gave. Over 250 votes cast here. Lio Rush with 41.9, Big Show 22.8, Chris Jericho 16.7, and then 18.7% some other write-in. Of course, with the already existing beef that seems to be squashed between Rush and Mark Henry and the size, I mean, come on now. I want to see Lio Rush, Mark Henry. That's the one that I've got my money on.
Is it wrong to say that I don't really want to see Mark Henry in the ring at all?
No.
I mean, I would love for Mark Henry to come in and, really contribute to something backstage. And if they want him in as an announcer on the new Rampage show, that's fantastic. I support that, but I don't think that there's a need for Mark Henry to come back for an in-ring return.
Yeah, and at Camper Cena here on Twitter, I would prefer they focus on their younger roster, better utilize TV time than being in retired guys for one-offs. Don't think it's needed. If you want an older guy to get a meaningful storyline push Kaz versus Omega down the line. I think that's a pretty smart take. And I'll also throw in here from Twitter at Tad Predicts, who's, by the way, thank you very much. Tad, you're commenting in the comment section and over on Twitter. Everyone, be more like Tad. He says, none. I'd rather see him manage Jade Cargill. He can run off her current manager. You bring up how many managers there are. and sometimes they seem forced. That one I don't think would. I would actually kind of be okay with that one.
I think that it would seem like, I think that you would have an African-American world-class athlete who says, hey, I recognize in you the kind of skill and talent that you have, and let me bring my experience to the table.
Yep, I agree. All right, everybody. Well, we are over time here today, so I won't have enough time to jump into the comment section over here. I'll just say this. You're all wonderful. If you like the show, give us all the thumbs up, hearts, heart, eyes, face. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be joined by Brian Wolf. Paul's going to be back on Thursday, double duty this week.
Whoop, whoop.
Also on the show tomorrow and on the audio show and over on the YouTube channel, we're going to be rolling out my conversation with Alexander Wolf from NXT, who just got released not long ago. And we're just going to be doing, okay, so here's the thing. I wanted to make sure, that's why I grabbed my computer. I emailed Raj this morning. So I went about an hour with Wolf, which is a lot. So we're going to do this over the next 2 days. So we're going to do Wednesday and Thursday, part 1, part 2 with Alexander Wolf.
Nice.
I mean, we dive into everything from Sanity to Imperium to pre that, what he's like now, what the culture of NXT is like. It's a very, very dense interview. So tomorrow, come on back for part 1 of my conversation with former NXT Tag Team Champion Alexander Wolf. Also, if you like Wrestling Inc., you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com. We're on all your favorite social media platforms. Of course, on YouTube at nights after major shows, we go live with the Wrestling Inc. podcast. That also has its own RSS feed as well. That's all I got. Paul, what do you want to put over here to wrap up the show today?
You know what? I've been really enjoying my Twitch streams. If you are in Northern California, though, come out and catch Full Queer. It's a Wrestling for Rights show celebrating Pride Month. We're crowning the first ever Prince X champion, non-gender specific, non-weight specific, non-promotional specific. That's on June 20th in Pacheco, California. You can look up Full Queer on eventbrite.com. That's it.
Yeah, and by the way, I know we're over time. I saw you tweeted out the belt, the Prince X title.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the best looking belts in pro wrestling.
It's cool. I like it a lot. My friend Marco Rodriguez did it, and so talented.
Yeah. So go check it out. Go follow Paul over on Twitter because he retweeted it or shared it or debuted it. I don't know. But
all of it. Lots and lots of times.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be the host and MC of that event. So,
hey, there you go.
Mistress of Ceremonies.
Where is it going to be again?
Pacheco, California. It's very close to Concord in the Northern California Bay Area. So,
okay.
Short drive.
My girlfriend's from San Francisco area. Maybe we'll go visit the fam and check out.
Nice.
That would be enjoyable. I did share it with Liz, and she's like, "Well, Nick, we have another reason to go back to California." So
exactly, of course.
Maybe we'll connect, Paul. That's all I'm saying.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm at Nick_Houseman. We got a brand new episode of Pro Wrestling for Life with Sean Waltman going out Thursday. And if you subscribe to that Patreon later today, you're going to get to see a watch along between Sean Waltman and Danhausen, where they watch back Danhausen versus Mike Bennett from New South Pro Wrestling. Very, very excited to get that out to the world.
Awesome match, by the way.
Yeah, dude, we're doing it all. This is a busy time. I want to thank everybody for the love and the support. It was a crazy, chaotic, adventurous weekend. I got to see some awesome people, reconnect with people I had seen in a long, long time. So thank you all so much for this wonderful community. I will talk to you tomorrow. And remember, if you winked,